Hello, this is a demonstration of two of my Vim plugins, Python tools and Flask tools. They're both meant to be used for Python for navigating Python projects. Python tools is the generic one. It should work for any kind of Python project as long as it has one of several particular types of files in the root of the project. Requirements.txt works, for example, and if you have a requirements.txt or a PyProject file, that the root of that directory is going to be considered the root of the Python project. And you can see, for example, that here I have an import from an external library. It is not underlined. The plugin does not handle those at this time. It's only meant to be used for local files, for local imports, because those are fairly easy to understand by just taking a regex to the import and then finding it on the file system, right? Here I have a class. I can type gf to jump to this particular class in its relevant file, right? I can do the same thing for these functions. For example, I can type Control W F to jump to open a split with this particular function, with another function, with a third function. These are underlined everywhere in the file, and you can jump on them from everywhere else on the file. This is the most important functionality that I consider from this plugin, but there's a couple of other sort of tools here. For example, I can define a class here. If I have, let's say, if I'm typing in parameters to this class, to this constructor, I can type execute the init command to automatically associate these input variables with properties. I can add another one here, and these are going to be left intact, and this is going to be added afterwards. I can type a for loop here, and then I can use the enum command to add an enumerate call. This is just something that I've had to do a lot, and so I just sort of made myself a little tool. I can type enum.j, enum.k to add more nested enums here with different variable names. I can type enum with a bang a couple of times to delete the enumerate calls if I no longer need them. That's about it for Python tools. I'm considering it a general toolbox where if I come up with some kind of interesting tool, I'm just gonna drop it in here and give you a variable to determine whether or not you want to define it, right? So these commands, they can be disabled if you don't use them. If you don't want to pollute your namespace, you can set a particular variable to disable them from being defined and only use the GF or GF family of mappings if you'd like. For Flask projects, I have a couple of other functionalities that you might find useful. For example, here we have a Flask project. All the imports are working the same way. I can type Control WF to jump to it. This just comes automatically from the Python project. But what we could also do here is we can go to a render template call, and I can open that template, right? I can open this template, the unpublished template, and from this template I can also, in the Jinja2 template, the imports of macros also can be navigated to the same way, right? Here's your time tag. You can jump to the layout, anything that is extended here. You can jump to anything that is included, and so on. Now, in order for this to work, however, this can't be done automatically because in your Flask project you might have specific folder structures. And so I have here a flasktools.json file that the project depends on, and it requires a template folder setting and a static folder setting, which are the same as the ones that you would set in a Flask project. You do not have to put these here. You can just have this be an empty JSON or even an empty file, and then the defaults are going to be used, which are going to be a template folder named templates and a static folder named static. But you can write these down if you have a different configuration. The routes key is something that I guess if you wanted to, you could write down manually. It's a mapping between particular paths and their handlers in their fully qualified names. If you have this, then another thing that works is you can go to a URL4 call and go, press GF on that one and then jump to the handler function. This only works if you have these routes. If you don't have them, nothing's going to happen. This just isn't going to work. There's also another thing that we can do here. If we have that, I can copy a URL from this application, and I can use the command epat on a particular URL, and then that's going to jump to the handler of that URL. Now, it is impractical to expect that you're going to write down these URLs yourself, which is why I have a tool here, like something that you can just import and call dump metadata on your Flask project, and then that's going to fill in the flask2.json file. So you can just plug that into your application, put an if clause to only do this in development mode, and this file is always going to be kept up to date. And then in Vim, you're going to have this kind of navigation. You don't have to do this. If you just want to use GF to jump between like Jinja templates and stuff like this, that's also just fine. Feel free to open issues if you run into problems, or if you have some ideas of more functionality that could be implemented. Thank you for your time, and happy Vimming.